Canada has just signed a sweeping defense and security pact with the European Union, marking a bold shift in its foreign policy. This agreement goes far beyond trade. It opens doors for joint military research, cybersecurity, and direct Canadian participation in European defense projects. For a nation long tied to the US, this is a clear move to diversify alliances and reduce reliance on Washington. Prime Minister Trudeau calls it a generational opportunity to build a more resilient, independent industrial base. The pact is a response to global uncertainty and shifting US politics, as both Canada and the EU seek stable, like-minded partners. For Canadians, this isn't just about military hardware, it's about jobs, technology, and national identity. The deal positions Canada as a potential key player in a new transatlantic defense ecosystem. But it also sets up tough choices, starting with the controversial issue of Canada's next-generation fighter jets. The stage is set for a high-stakes geopolitical chess game. At the center of this realignment is the fate of the F-35 fighter jet. Canada's plan to buy the American-made F-35 was seen as a cornerstone of its military modernization and US partnership. But with the EU Pact signed, Ottawa is now openly reconsidering the F-35 purchase, possibly pausing or even suspending the deal. The next payment is due soon, forcing a pivotal decision commit to the F-35, or break from the plan and risk friction with Washington. This isn't just about one jet, it's a test of Canada's new strategic direction. Could European alternatives like the Saab Gripen or Dassault Rafale offer similar capabilities and better industrial benefits? The Air Force has spent years preparing for the F-35, so a sudden change would mean major operational upheaval and delays. It also raises questions about Canada's commitments to NORAD and NATO, both of which rely on US interoperability. The F-35 decision has become the central drama in Ottawa, with far-reaching consequences for security and alliances. Canada stands at a crossroads, and the world is watching. The EU Pact offers Canadian industry something the F-35 deal can't: guaranteed high-value participation in European defense projects. Canadian firms can now join the European Defence Fund, collaborating on next-gen military tech with giants like Airbus and Saab. This means more integrated roles, not just subcontracting for parts, and the chance to co-develop systems tailored to Canada's needs. The EU model promises long-term, high-skilled jobs and technological sovereignty, key goals for Canadian policymakers. By diversifying its partnerships, Canada can build a self-sustaining defense industrial base and foster innovation at home. The pact covers everything from drones to cyber warfare and Arctic surveillance, expanding Canada's technological reach. Instead of just buying jets, Canada could help shape the future of defense technology. It's a foundational choice about the country's economic and strategic future. Europe's gains from this pact are substantial. Canada offers the EU a stable North American ally, strengthening Brussels' global position as US policy grows less predictable. Critically, Europe gets access to Canada's vast reserves of critical minerals, essential for modern defense tech, and a secure alternative to unstable suppliers. The pact encourages joint ventures and investment, helping Europe de-risk its supply chains for the long term. Canadian financial institutions are also invited to invest in European defense, providing much-needed capital for modernization. Canada's Arctic expertise and advanced tech capabilities add unique value, especially as the region becomes more contested. For Brussels, this deal secures resources, capital, and a strategic partner in a changing world. Pausing or canceling the F-35 deal comes with real risks and costs. Canada's CF-18 jets are aging fast, and every delay means more money spent on keeping them flying, without new capability. Canadian firms have already won over $1 billion in F-35 contracts. Pulling out could mean losing those jobs and damaging Canada's industrial reputation. Restarting the fighter competition would take years and likely cost more, with inflation and shifting requirements driving up the price. Canada could end up with a less capable jet that's not fully interoperable with US forces. There are also financial penalties and sunk costs. Hundreds of millions already invested in the F-35 program. The government must weigh these immediate certain costs against the long-term promise of the EU Pact. It's a high-stakes gamble with no easy answers. The clock is ticking. Suspending the F-35 would send a strong message to the US, not just about jets, but about Canada's strategic priorities. The F-35 is central to North American defense and NATO interoperability. Choosing another jet could create a technological gap with US forces. This would complicate joint operations, especially within NORAD, and might force the US to shoulder more of the defense burden. Canada could find itself isolated from key NATO allies who are standardizing on the F-35. The move could also strain intelligence sharing, as trust and confidence are critical in alliances like Five Eyes. While a full rupture is unlikely, a cooling of relations with Washington is almost certain. Canadian leaders would need to reassure the US that pivoting to Europe isn't a pivot away from America. Managing this fallout will be one of Ottawa's toughest diplomatic challenges. The stakes for Canada's alliances have never been higher. The defense shakeup has sparked fierce debate across Canada. The opposition slams the potential F-35 suspension as reckless, arguing it endangers security and betrays the US alliance. Others, including the NDP, welcome the EU Pact as a chance to invest in Canadian industry and chart a more independent path. Public opinion is split. Many value the US relationship, but the promise of high-tech jobs and a made-in-Canada approach is appealing. The government faces a monumental choice: stick with the F-35 and the status quo, or risk penalties and delays for a bold new direction. The decision will shape not just Canada's Air Force, but its global identity for a generation. As the deadline looms, the stakes could not be higher. Canada's next move will define its place in the world.